Hello, Dolphins fans! It's been a rough start to the season, and with the NFL trade deadline approaching on November 5th, it's time to talk about what the Dolphins should do next. Are we buying? Are we selling? Before we dive into the latest news, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our updates on what's happening with the Miami Dolphins. Given how things have played out so far, it's hard to see the Dolphins as buyers at the trade deadline. This team has a lot of issues to address, and while there are some areas of strength, it's not like we're just one player away from a Super Bowl run. So if we're not going to add pieces, should we be offloading talent to prepare for the future? That's where the conversation gets really interesting, and one name keeps popping up: Jevon Holland. Our star safety is in the final year of his rookie deal, and while he's been a cornerstone of the defense since he arrived in Miami, it doesn't look like there's any urgency from the Dolphins front office to get a new contract done. Now, let me be clear, I'm not saying we should trade Holland, but it's something Chris Grier and company have to consider. Right now, Grier has shown he's more than willing to pull off big trades, sometimes too willing. He maneuvers deals like he's playing Madden, but the problem comes when it's time to do something meaningful with the draft picks he gets in return. That's where we've seen some inconsistency. Still, this is the NFL, and sometimes the best move is the one that sets you up for the future rather than just trying to stop the bleeding in the present. With Holland, the situation is tricky. There's no fifth-year option to buy more time, and there's been no public indication from the Dolphins that they're working to extend him. If they don't get a deal done before free agency in March, they'd either have to use the franchise tag, something we've seen go badly for other teams, or risk losing him for nothing. And if Holland walks in free agency, the Dolphins wouldn't even get a compensatory pick back, given our recent spending in the market. So, should Miami be proactive and trade him now? From a purely business perspective, it makes sense. His value is high around the league, and with contenders always looking to shore up their defenses, a team in need of safety help could be willing to part with a second-round pick or more. That's a pretty good return for a player you might not even be able to keep next year. But trading Holland isn't without its risks. First, he's one of the most talented players on a defense that's already struggling. Moving him would be a signal that the Dolphins are waving the white flag on this season and looking toward the future. That's a tough pill to swallow for the players still in that locker room and for a fan base that had high hopes coming into the year. If Grier decides to pull the trigger, it would also mean putting a lot of trust in whoever would step up to fill Holland's shoes, and let's be honest, it's not like we have a surplus of Pro Bowl caliber players waiting in the wings. This move would have repercussions that go beyond just this season. But here's the other thing: who else can Miami even consider moving? We're not trading Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, despite what some media talking heads might speculate. There's no way we'd get fair value for either of them. Jaelan Phillips would have been an option before his injury, but now he's off the table, too. Jeff Wilson Jr.? Maybe, but we'd be lucky to get a late-round pick in return. The offensive line? There's no one on there who'd bring back any real value. The Dolphins' options are limited, and that's why dealing Holland makes sense from a trade value perspective. He's one of the few players on the roster who could bring in something significant in return. But then you have to ask yourself, are we just giving up on a player who's a core part of this team's future? It's a tough call, and it's one that Chris Grier is going to have to think long and hard about as the deadline approaches. A move like this could set the Dolphins up for a strong comeback next season, or it could backfire spectacularly and leave us even further out of contention than we are now. So what do you think, Dolphins fans? Should we trade Jevon Holland before the deadline and start building for the future? Or is it worth trying to keep him around and figure out the contract stuff later? Let me know what you think in the comments below. We have some exciting news coming out of camp, and it could be a game-changer for our offense. Odell Beckham Jr. is finally returning to the practice field, and it couldn't come at a better time for the Miami Dolphins. After weeks of waiting, OBJ was spotted taking part in the team's walkthrough on Wednesday and then fully suited up for practice on Thursday. Head coach McDaniel was cagey when it came to Beckham's availability, but this is a big step forward. For a team that has struggled to find consistency in the passing game, Beckham's return could provide that much-needed spark. Now, the big question is, will we see OBJ back out there this Sunday against the New England Patriots? Or will the team play it safe and keep him out until after the bye week? With a crucial game against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 7, it might make sense to wait a little longer. But man, wouldn't it be great to see him back out there making plays? It's been a long road for Beckham, rehabbing an injury and waiting for his moment to shine in Miami. He joined the Dolphins with high hopes of catching passes from Tua Tagovailoa and helping to elevate this offense to the next level. But with Tua out, OBJ is now looking at catching balls from Tyler Huntley instead, a far cry from the original plan. The good news? Beckham and Huntley have a bit of chemistry from their time together in Baltimore, so that could be an advantage when he's ready to get back on the field. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Beckham still has a few medical hurdles to clear before he's officially activated. With his 21-day window now open, it's all about making sure he's healthy enough to contribute without risking another setback. And we know how badly this team needs him right now. Without OBJ, the Dolphins' wide receiver depth has been put to the test, and it hasn't been pretty. We've had to rely on guys like Grant Dubose, D. Eskridge, and Robbie Chosen. No offense to them, but they just haven't been able to make a meaningful impact. Dubose is now on injured reserve, Eskridge has one catch to his name, and the team even cut Chosen after giving him a shot. It's been rough, to say the least. If Beckham can get back to being even 75% of the player we saw during his peak years, that's going to make a world of difference. His route running, hands, and ability to create separation are exactly what this offense has been missing. We've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle leading the charge, but without a solid third option, defenses have been able to key in on them and slow down our passing attack. Beckham could be that missing piece to open things up again. Let's be real, Coach McDaniel's decision to bring in OBJ during the offseason was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a risky move, given Beckham's injury history, while others thought it was a brilliant addition to an already potent offense. So far, it's been a waiting game, and patience is wearing thin. But hey, the guy is a 3-time Pro Bowler for a reason. He's got the talent, now we just need to see him back on the field, making plays and turning those risky throws into highlight reel catches. The stakes are high. If Beckham can come back strong, he has the potential to elevate this team and give us a much-needed boost in the second half of the season. If he struggles to stay healthy, though, it might end up being another what could have been situation for Miami. Either way, there's reason to be hopeful, Dolphins fans. OBJ is a game-changer, and even if he's not there for the Patriots game, it looks like we'll see him sooner rather than later. And trust me, when he's ready to go, you'll want to be there to see it. So, what do you think, Dolphins fans? Will OBJ's return be the spark this offense needs, or are we just setting ourselves up for disappointment? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And remember, if you enjoyed this update, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fellow Dolphins fans. Fins up!